So so far so good. It shows that we are through with data cleaning, right? Remember where we started from? We started by learning how to create an analysis notebook with Jupyter Notebook, right? Using Python and Anaconda as a server. Then after that, we started looking at some functions which we can use to verify or check some information about our data sets, just like we use shape, remember, to know the width and the height of our data sets. And then we also looked at info, right? That was the one that summarizes majority of the information about our data sets. Then after that, we now started looking at this, the filtering function, the one for selecting data. Okay, so this class we're focusing on aggregate functions in pandas. So let's write aggregate function in pandas. Aggregate function in pandas. So to start with, I'm going to create a different notebook. So let's create a different notebook. But we are still working with the same folder where we have our data set. So to create the notebook, of course, go to desktop. Please help me to identify your own. I know that under this, what is the name of that your notebook that weekend? Let's look at it together first. Just pay attention. Weekend. I'll pass it, Abby. Is it weekend or Saturday class? It's weekend. Oh, to locate this. I don't think it's weekend though. Okay, so there's no issue. Let me just create another one since we are just starting. You know how we started? We have to create a folder, right? You have to create a folder in one of your storage. You have to create folder there. So let me name this folder. Please take notes of the name of the folder in case of tomorrow. So let's say what? Sat class. Now, as usual, let me quickly add some data that we're going to work with inside. So let me add all this. I believe you have all this data as well. You have the healthcare data, right? Then you have the salary. So you can be doing the same thing. Just create your folder as if we are starting a new project. So I populated it with this. Now what will happen is that just watch first so that we can be on the same page. So now let me go to my desktop. I should be able to see that folder, which is what? Sat class. This is it. I open it. What up? You register. Now, I'll let the register first. I'll give him new date. Can't join this one. Let the person register. We'll go back to you. Are you with me? Now, look up. So it's like I copied another person's one. So let me just create my new notebook here. The new one. Of course, remember that we have gone through all these steps, right? If it doesn't redirect by itself, you double click on it. in order for you to give it a name. So once I'm done with this part, just watch you. I will allow you to set up your own. I know this is part of what we have done, but I just want to go through it again. So, of course, the first thing is for me to rename my what? My notebook, right? By selecting where? On title. So let's say this one is aggregate what? Aggregate, sorry, aggregate underscore function underscore analysis. Aggregate analysis, right? Then remember, you click on rename. So we have it there. So the next thing is for us to import our word because it's a new notebook, right? Import libraries, Python analysis. Just be following. I'll go for a break and then you do your own as well. So I just want to increase it. So import Python what? Analysis live. Yeah, welcome. Libraries. So I'll start from import. No, I'm coming. Import pandas as what? PD. So we are also importing numpy, just like we did this. Numpy as what? NP. And then from pandas, import series, right? Series, don't forget the S should be what? Capital letter, D also. And then we run it. So let's confirm the importation of the library first before we call in our data sets. Okay, so we have successfully imported our library. So the next thing I want to do, so I'm just going through this as revision. So by the time I ask you to do it, I don't want you to look at your notes. These are things you should have, mastered. So here we want to load, or let's say what, loading what? CSV and Excel what? Data frame or data sets, the same thing. Now I will start with the CSV. So I will say the name of my CSV data is data what? 1, then equals to PD dots, I'll use a function read underscore what? CSV, then call the name of the data set. So I will simply go to my directory. This is the CSV file that I want to, let's load the healthcare so that I won't have to go through data cleaning much. So go back to my new notebook and paste. And of course, when I run it and it throws an error, that is directory error, like this, where it says no such file or directory. So what I'm going to do to resolve this issue is to quickly use relative method, or you simply use only the name of what? The file. That is another option whenever you are having issue. You can actually use what? Only the name of what? The file, the actual name of the file. So what is the next thing is for me to do what? To display the data, right? So to display or to view the data, simply call the name of what? the data and execute. So I have what? The data here. So on this new notebook, I want to have two different data sets for the kind of analysis we want to do. So the next one I'm bringing is what? So here is what? Loading a cell, loading a cell data frame, loading a cell what? Data frame. Now, what is the syntax? I will say this one is what? Data what? 2 equals to PD dot the function called read underscore a cell. We have done all this, so this should just be like revision to us as we want to look at the second part of analysis in Python before the last part, which is graph. Now, the same thing, I'm going back to my directory. This is the one I want to call. This one here, this is what? The Excel file. So I'll copy the parts also, go back to my paste, and then the same thing, like I told us, I can simply use only what? The name of the file, and then execute, accepted. Then to also view the data, to view the data, just simply call data what? Data 2, and then just press. So now I will wait for us to get here before I proceed with the kind of analysis I want us. They are very important, but they are the important function you need for financial data analysis. So let's quickly do that quickly. I'm giving us just 10 minutes to do another break. Data 2. Okay, now, so we have prepared our notebook. Please, let's focus. I say should leave that out first. Now, we have prepared our notebook. So let's start. We have our data ready. Like I said, this is the topic of today's class, which is aggregate function. How do we analyze data with this set of functions? So we'll start with the definition. What is data aggregation? Now, we may not need to write the entire note, but let's try and capture the first paragraph and write down some key statements. Now, data aggregation is often used to provide statistical analysis for groups of people and to create useful summary data for business analysis. Data aggregation is often used to provide statistical analysis for a group of people and to create useful summary data for business analysis. So like I further explained, aggregation is often done on a large scale through software tools known as data aggregator. So the focus here is what we usually hear out there as business analytics. So most of these functions they are much used out there. Like when we were in Excel, if you could recall, we talk about sum, right? Talk about sum if, talk about sum ifs. You know, some of them, one of them, the sum, falls under the general aggregate function, which does not require condition. That we use to add all the values in a column, then they will not enter the single criteria. That is where we have sum if. Then we now wrap it up with sum ifs, the one with S, which allows us to exploit our data with multiple criteria. So that same thing that you do in Excel, that same thing you did in Excel is actually what we want to replicate in Python here. So let's look at the first one. So I'm starting with the summation. Make sure you are writing down your notes.
So I'm starting with the first function, which is for summing of value, summation. So when a large number of data are given, and sometimes some total of the values is required, then summation is needed here. So for example, look up. For example, I'm going to be switching to our data set. From the data we have loaded here, I think we have a basic what? Salary here. We have basic salary. Let me just take it. Now, supposing we are asked to add all the values, the company wants to know the total basic what? Salary. So we will need the summation what? Function. If you look at what I just said now, the company said they want to add all. They did not say they want to add only some selected what? Basic salary. So which means that there is no defined criteria. All the values are qualified for the what? For the addition. Are you with me? Just like what we did in Microsoft Excel. So this is the first syntax that will be involved. Summation what? Question. What is the total revenue? Here I'm working with a different data set, which is not any of those data sets we have in our notebook. But we will be constructing equivalent what? Question that we will be using to verify all these functions. So each slide like this, you write it down like this. Summation application. You write the question there as a format. Then the one I'm going to also duplicate, the one I'm going to use for the practical, you also write it down, because the syntax will change based on the data set I'm working with. Are we there? All right, so now let me take this function to my notebook temporarily. So the same thing, everything I'm writing in the cell, you should be writing it also. For that one you copied is the first sample. So this is the one we are using to implement them. So what are we doing here? Performing different analysis using Python. Using Python aggregate function. Hello? 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 Using what? Python aggregate functions. So we are starting with the first one, which is what? Application. This is how you'll be writing it, because this one is the practical one. Application of, which are the functions? Some function. That is what we are dealing with now. So what is the question? What is the question we are answering based on the data we are working with? So the question is, so I assume that we have already studied the what? The data. So this is the salary payroll data, right? So the question is that what is, make sure you are writing that so that you won't waste my time later. What is the total? What is the total basic salary. So it's a question. What is the total basic salary? So for us to, the solution will be the syntax. Solution will be, this is where I have a column label what? Total, which is equivalent to the basic salary that I'm working with here now. So now my syntax is going to be the name of the data set where you have that basic salary as a header. So the name of my data set right now is what? Data 2. Are you with me? Data 2. That is from data 2, select. By now, you should know this selection method. We have treated this where we were selecting column, right? So which means that you are saying that what? You are saying that from these data sets, select this column called what? Basic what? Salary. So let me see if our basic salary is in a single word or double word. And if it's double word, it means that we ought to have added word space. That is I underscore, remember. So now, but let's see if it will recognize it. So Control C to copy the header. Sometimes it's important to copy the header because to avoid typographical error. Then you are saying that what? Select all the values under what? This header. Then once you have selected them, then use this function. That is what? That dot. Concat. Use this function to sum them up. Then, now remember the output, I would like the output to be in a valid variable that I can always what? Reach out to. So for that reason, I will say what? Total underscore basic. This is how you are going to do your own for me. Basic salary is equals to, hope you know why I am introducing this. So that I will not just output the value. I want the value to be stored where? Be stored in a variable. So if I run my code, then if I want to see the result, what will I do? I will call what? The variable name. And then run it. So this is the answer. So the addition of all the values under what? The basic salary is this. Are you following? So let's quickly apply that. Write everything you have here before you practicalize it. Let's go back to the slide. So we are done with what? The application of what? Sum function as one of the aggregate function. Now, the next one is what? Average. The next one is average. The next one is average. The next one is average function. Now, in Python, we don't have a function called what? Average. Instead, it's represented with what? Mean. So I believe from Excel, we already know what average is. Average means what? Adding all numbers in a data set, then dividing by what? The number of values, right? Just like somebody said, what is the average of 5 and 6? You add what? 5 plus 6 divided by what? 2. So let's look at one of the questions we are answering here. What is the average of total value? Please, let's always write this one first because we are still going to the application version. This one is just to give you the sample idea first. That's this time. We are not talking about this time. Do you want to see me? I just want to see it. Has he registered? Yes. Thank you. Thank you. So, I believe, okay, you just for me to do my, I believe you must have done your own, right? So let me just do my own so that I can explain everything that pertains to it. So going back to my dashboard, so what are we doing here? This is what application of what? Average, which is what? Mean here, right? In Python, you know, I told you that all this one you are writing this one as another sample in Python. So what is the task? Let me just go through to the task. What is the task? I'm using that same payroll. Please, Mr. Benjamin, are you with us? I'm using that same payroll. So what is the question I'm asked to answer here is, what is the average? What is the average task? What is the average task? What is the average task paid? I know we have a column called task in that data set, right? What is the average task paid? You are supposed to be writing your notes, not your code now. What is the average task paid? So that tomorrow you're not going to say you did not write code. That's why I'm going this way. We are writing in our notes before we apply. Now, what is the average task what? Paid. Now, we know that I will select what? I will say task, or I will say total. I will say total underscore task underscore paid is equals to, just to be able to store it in a valid variable. Pay is equals to, I will select the data set, which is what? Salary. Don't forget the structure. Then select from salary data set, select task as header. Then select all the values under task. Then you are concatenating the mean function to add them together and divide it by the total number of what? Entries there. So I will execute. There's an error that was salary is not defined. Is it true? What did I use the other time? Sorry, is data what? Data 2. So the function is correct. So there is nothing like what? Sorry. So I'll say what? Data 2. Good. Now, to see the value, I will just call what? The variable name, Control C, and come down here, paste it at the, you get it now? So I believe you have already. So just copy this in your notes. You do it. I want to do one more. So allow us to practice. Let me do like 3. Because they have almost the same formats. Oh yeah. Let's also apply. The count function, count function. Count was function. So count function in data analysis is used to know how many times an entry appears in a data set. To know how many times an entry appears in a data set. How many times an entry appears in a data set. So let's look at the question we are asking here, applying the count function. How many entries are in Yargon data sets? I believe we are also familiar with this data. Have we written that? So that I can go for the application. Okay, now let's look at the application. So I think let's use the other data now, or we can still use this. So application is your second sample. Application of count function in Python. Application of count function in Python. application of what? Count function in Python. Okay, so which tags here? The question we are asking here is how many entries are in data 2 data frame. So the syntax will also be total number of entry is equals to total numbers of entry is equals to data 2 selects. So I'll use that task. I'm still using that task as my criteria header for the counting. Then I will just add or concatenate what? The count function. So how many of them? There are what? 150. So let's quickly apply.
Back to the slide. Let's see. So we have, so now this is single criteria. You can see that all the one we are doing since we are adding everything, we are counting everything, we are looking for average of everything. Now we want to start bringing criteria, just like what we did here now. Here, if we are asked now, what value is this? This value represents the what? Total average of what? All the tasks paid by the employee, right? Now, if they want you to calculate it for only employees from, let's say, operation departments, you can see that in that case now, condition is what? Is involved. So that is the aspect we are entering. So we just take like 2 here. Then we continue from there in the next class so that you can go and master. So just write single criteria aggregate conditional functions application in data analysis with Python.
At the first one, you can see that this is actually an extension of what we did, but we are introducing a function here. Pay attention here. You can see the same function you use for sum. That is why I said it was single one. Now, let me explain this. Here, this is equivalent to what we learned as sum if in Excel. We don't have any function called sum if. Why I use this way, so that you recall, so that you have an idea of what we are trying to achieve here. So sum if in Excel, they were used for one condition what? Data summary. And then we now use the one that carry what? S. Remember when we did that in Excel? So good. So now here is where you are summarizing all the value under what? Total. So which could be like a business salary in this data we are working with. Where payment method is equal to what? E-wallet. So which means that what? In the whole of that salary, that jargon data, the total that will be generated will be for only where payment is equal to what? E-wallet. So there's a criteria. And what is the criteria? Just e-wallet, one criteria. So let's quickly copy the syntax before we go and relate it with the data we are working with. So, so we just do 2, like I said, and then
we stop them because they are too much now. So it is only Python and Excel that normally waste our time. Once we finish Python, we can try to be more consistent. I finished Python. Power BI and SQL, those ones they are not that complex like Excel and Python. So that you won't calculate that we are going to be spending this time that we are spending in Python, in Power BI. That means the program will end next year. No. This one is the one that takes time. The program will not end next year. Once we finish these ones, other ones are very fast. They are very fast. Power BI is just like an extension of Excel. So it's not that difficult. So now,
so what exactly we are asked to do here, looking at the data we have, like I told us, this is it's a single what? This is single criteria, right? So what we have to write in your note now, you write application of query formula, because that is the formula that is harboring all this calculation. Query function for single criteria analysis. For single criteria analysis. For single criteria analysis. So what is the task here? In fact, the question will tell you what it is. What is the task? We are using this same salary payroll. The task is at what? What is, make sure you are writing everything, please. What is the total task paid, Mr. Benjamin? With us. What is the total task paid only from, okay, what is the total task paid by employees from only operation? I know we have operation as one of the departments. Operation departments. Operation what? Departments. So the solution to answer it, the syntax to answer this question is, so I'm using a more descriptive name that suggests what I'm asked to look for. So I will just say what? Total what? Task, total task, total task for operation departments, so that in case I want to write my executive reports, I'll know what each of these is representing. Now, you call the name of the data set, which is what? Data what? Data 2, join the function you are using, which is what? Query. Then is a function, therefore it should carry what? The bracket. So what is the argument, okay? Are you with us? Yes, and you're not looking at the board. Yes. Query. So here we will, this is a string. We put everything in what? In the string quotation. Now the heading that contains the criteria is what? Departments, right? That is the first thing you call. Just like the way I call payment, where we have what? E-wallet. Are you with me? Now, equals to, I have told you before that 2 equals to means what? Equality. 1 means what? Assignment, right? So we are saying that what? If a value in a column labeled what? Department is equals to, then I will use double string because the single one is one that is enveloping all of them. to spell out what? The criteria, the value equals to what? Operation, right? Operation. I'm trying to ensure the way it's spelled there. Operations. Now, that is the end of this function. So the role of this function, query, is just to go and assemble only record in here, right? Once it has assembled there, then remember that this function that we are about to use cannot sum up what? Strings. So the role of this query is just to assemble what? Those records. Now, you will not select the column that have the number because some cannot add text. Some can only add what? Integer, number. So you now select the column, which is what? Look at your question. Task paid. So under task column, that's where you have numbers, right? So you now select that column called what? Task. So what we are saying is that this particular function query assemble what? Only this what? Employee. Then select the value under what? Task. And then summation. That is what? Add sum. That is what? Concat what? Sum. Mr. Benjamin, are you with us? If you are tired, I will stop here. Now, what I'm saying is that here, at this point here, you assemble what? The record. Out of the whole record there, you call out only record in what? Operations department, right? Now, because the function you are about to call, which is a sum, cannot add what? String. So under this record, there is a column called what? Task, where you have number that this sum can add up. So that is why we concatenated this. Now, if I run it now, I have my answer. Then if I want to see them, what do? I will copy what? This, Control what? C, and then come here, then Control V. Then, so this is the value. Did you understand it? You are sleeping, that's why you don't understand it. I will stop here. I will continue. Now, what I'm saying is, please pay attention. Let me just explain once and for all so I can stop. What we are is logical. The whole of this is the name of the variable where the answer will be stored. Here is your data set, where you have this as a column label, right? And this as a value under it. So what you are saying that what? You are selecting value under department where is it, or you are selecting value under department that is equal to what? Operations. So if I go to this data set, now look at it here. Under department here, you have marketing, you have security, you have credits, you have what? Operation. Operation is there. So you are saying that what? And we also have tasks as a column. We have tasks as a column. So if I zoom out now so that we can see it, I know we have a column called what? Tasks. This is it here. So all the numbers under this task, they are the one you want to add up, but where record is equal to what? Operation. You are not adding all like what we did before. So only the value under task that can be traced to department and be equal to what? Operation. Like if you trace this one now, it's not going to add it because what? This is not operation. It will not add this one as well. It will only add where the value here is equal to what? Operation. That is what we are saying here, sir. That is what we are saying here. I hope it's clear. That is what we are saying here. Now, why did you have to select? I do not like zooming sometimes. Why did you have to select tasks? Why you selected task is that you are trying to reference the column with number because this function cannot add text, cannot add name, it can only add number. So if you silence this place, now it won't work. So you must specify one of the column where you have number under it. So that is what we did here. Okay, did you understand this? Do you understand this? So let's apply it and then we close from there.